Our next guest on the show, Debbie Binder, the West Bloomfield Township Clerk, now has been reelected into her second term, although you ran unopposed, so not a lot of stress when it came to the actual election. However, or to your campaign rather, although I'm sure there was a lot of stress when it came to getting this election off the ground. Did you get any sleep last night? Because you look great.
Probably 30, 45 minutes. I didn't get home till 6:30 this morning. So it was a
So
long night.
you look like you just woke up. I mean, if I had not had any sleep like that, I'd have bags all the way down. We won't ask how much coffee you drank though, but tell us. Congratulations on your
Thank you.
second term as the West Bloomfield Township Clerk. During your first term, you went through a pandemic and also a historic voter turnout. Tell us about the election. What did you see yesterday at the polls?
Okay, and I do have to add, as you mentioned, I was unopposed, which really turned out to be a great thing because I could focus on the election, and the election was a tremendous, feat to accomplish. It actually the turnout percentage wise wasn't hugely more, but we've had over a 9% increase in registered voters in the last 2 years. So that led to a significant increase in numbers. It actually was about a 76% turnout for the election. We're normally about that in a presidential year. And 74% of those votes came in through absentee ballots. Anyone who walked by town hall the week before knows that we were lined across the building out the door the last week before the election. So we were looking at historic turnout based on that increase, a huge increase. We've increased 4.5% just since August, and we normally have an average of a 1.48% increase every 2 years, and a large year, a presidential year, 3.08% increase. So we did see a significant increase. This was definitely a challenging election. Part of it is things were changing day to day in terms of guidelines, and things from the state that local clerks were adhering to. Um, a part of a local clerks forum, and we were sharing information and sharing ideas and making sure that we were all abreast of what was going on. So it was a tougher one to prepare for. I am very fortunate. I have a great team at town hall. The clerk's office staff has been through multiple elections. We've had 3 a year every year for the last few years. They're professional, they're courteous, they are capable, they're competent, they do their job, and they make sure that everybody gets to have their voice heard. I'm able to depend on them to get work done, make sure that we have a successful election, and I have the support of my board and the community. I also have the support of a wonderful group of election inspectors, which in August I was begging to find election inspectors, and we were scrambling. And fortunately, with the help of organizations like you and advertising and working our social media, we were able to get 350 new election inspectors. We actually had a reserve bench that we haven't had in a few years. So the efforts paid off, and it allowed us to run a successful election, having my staff and having a group of election inspectors to get the job done. It was a big job to do last night. So it took a village, including we had a very, very, very cooperative manager at our U.S. Post Office, and he went out of his way to stay late, make sure that we could pick up ballots as late as possible last night, bring ballots when needed, make sure that he was just an integral part of ensuring that our ballots were received at town hall. So it took a village, and I had the village to get it done. So I'm grateful.
And with that, Debbie, there was so much talk prior to this election about the post office purposely delaying some of these ballots getting to your office. Was that not the case at all? Do you believe that you got all of the ones that were postmarked in a timely manner?
I'm going to give you a number that will make you very confident that we got all of those ballots back. But we were proactive. We met with our postmaster. We met with our post office manager. We put a lot of effort into securing those relationships to make sure. And, I think that we did see an improvement from August. August, we definitely had delays, and we were concerned. It was taking 10 to 13 days for local mail to get to us. I think that they heard the concerns, and they did respond, and there was a lot of involvement, and we did see an improvement for this election. And to make you convinced that we did see all of our ballots come in, Of the ballots we issued, we had a 97.54 return rate of those absentee ballots. So they got back to us. It was really, we were excited to see that. It also made it easier for us on election day because in August we received 20% of our absentee ballots, which was 3,400 ballots on election day. And every absentee ballot that comes in goes through a process where it's scanned into the qualified voter file. The signature, we pull the application, the signature is verified, and it goes through a checklist. So it's a very time consuming process. We did a lot of work on messaging, don't delay, return your absentee ballot today. And people listened. And due to that, we had pretty much 93% in by yesterday. We got a couple hundred yesterday instead of 3,400, or if it was 20%, it would have been way more than that. So that helped us get those results quicker by having those ballots turned in earlier. And thank you again. I know that you work diligently, both of you work diligently to help us get that message out. Don't hold your ballot, get it back. It accomplished making sure you didn't have a delay with the mail. But I have to say that I am impressed. A 97.5354 return rate on our absentee ballots is a beautiful number, very high number. We're happy to see it. We usually do have a 96% return rate, but we like breaking records when they're even closer to perfection.
And so you had a record number of absentee ballots, and I know they take a little bit longer to process. What time did you and your team actually finish today?
Okay, well,
And
I
and
will
was
tell
it
you,
today or was it did you finish last night?
we finished with our board last night, but there's a lot of preparing. You have to prepare all your packets to go to the probate court, to go to the county. And so there's a lot of follow-up work afterwards. So we've just sent most of our board home around 12:30, 1 o'clock. We had most of the rest of them out of there by 2. We were there till 6 doing all the follow-up, and we had to break down the equipment so that they could clean the building today. It looked like a circus came through town hall when we were done with the AV counting board. But when you do mention though, Ronnie, to go back to that record number, our record to date before today of processing absentee ballots was 16,783, which we set that record in August of this year. And we processed this election 33,287. So we doubled the number of absentee ballots. And West Bloomfield, every precinct, every ballot was a 2-sheet, 3-page ballot. So we processed, it was 60 over 66,000 pages we had to put through the tabulator in our teams. So it was a big job. And we had them, we were properly staffed. We had them trained, we had them prepared, and we were able to complete a task that was really hard to do in that period of time. What did help us is the legislator did provide a law that allowed municipalities of over 25,000 to pre-process ballots on the Monday before. We couldn't tabulate them at all. We couldn't even remove them from the secrecy sleeves, but we could compare the stub number on the ballot to the stub number on the envelope, which is the way we guarantee that there's one voter per ballot. And that task alone took some time off. We expected to be able to, pre-process about 850. We were able to process 1,250 per team. That gave us a really nice head start for yesterday, which is why I think we were able to finish the process as early as we were. I think we would have been there had we not had that ability to pre-process on Monday. I think we still would be there now. We would be finishing up. It was a big job, and that 10 hours on Monday allowed us to get a really nice jump start on it.
It's good that you were allowed to have that heads up, that early start as well. And quickly before we let you go, any problems reported at all yesterday? We heard so much prior to this election about fears of voter intimidation, people coming to the polls with guns. Did you have any problems at all?
Absolutely none. And I am also encouraged by the fact that we had a visit from one of the Secretary of State representatives for Oakland County. And she said countywide, they just didn't have reports of problems. There were no confrontations. We had one issue, but it related to a completely different apolitical situation that we had to work out with a resident who had an emotional breakdown in the precinct, but it really was non-political, and everything else went smoothly. People wore masks, people were respectful. I didn't have one call or complaint about the way people were behaving. And I know that the person from the Secretary of State's office, our local representative, said that she saw that countywide and heard that countywide. It was really for all of the hype and expectation, I have to say it was much better than we anticipated, just because I think people got all their words out and they came to the polls to get the job done. They wanted to cast their vote. They wanted to have their voice heard. The one thing we did hear at the window was a lot of people who distrust the process. And I always invite those people to work in absent voter counting board. And I did actually recruit one that was very concerned before. And she said, I'm out there telling everybody after I've just went through training what goes into the back end of an absent voter counting board. So I think it's reassuring when people find out all the checks that are in place when in an absent voter counting board. But that was the biggest thing I think we dealt with this time, was that lack of trust that's been created with that process. And I think once we reassure people and the focus goes on to voter education and making sure that they're comfortable understanding the back end process their ballot goes through, it makes a big difference.
Well, we know that you have worked incredibly hard, and all of your teammates over there at the West Bloomfield Township Clerk's office. Go get some sleep. I hope you have the day off, but thank you to you and your team for all of the hard work that you've been doing. This has been a tough year, a tough election. But also congratulations on your win for the next term. I know that you didn't have an opponent, but still, it has to feel good to know that you didn't have to worry about trying to campaign in the midst of all of this craziness. So, again, thank you, Debbie, and thank you so much for always being a proud supporter of us here on Civic Center TV and the Oakland County MegaCast. You've been such a beacon of information throughout this entire process. And every time we talk to you leading up to the election, I learn something new. So thank you for your time as well as your knowledge.
Thanks, Ronnie. Thank you, Tyler. It's always good to connect with the community, and you really do enable us to have an impact on our voters that we don't have that reach. So voter education is key. Accessibility to the ballot is key, and being available for our residents. So thank you for opening up the portal so we can get out there and talk to people.